This is an excerpt from my very affordable online course where you can learn to both feel and move energy to transform your field and your life. If you'd like to find out more about that, just visit my website, which is www.saranam.us. That's Saranam with all A's.us. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel for more self-help videos and energy work videos.
Okay, so to begin that practice, again, you want to slow down. So let's say you did it right after communing with a tree. You're going to be in the best space to do this practice because now you've really slowed down. And more importantly, you've communed with a being who is literally a healer. Trees really are healers, and a very feeling being. Trees are feeling beings, they're kinesthetic, right? And also a being who is in direct communion with nature, in direct communion with the earth and the sun and the rest of life. So that will help you a lot to begin this practice. Then I'm going over the basic practice here, which again, people who work with me already know this, but I'm going to go over it again for the benefit of people who don't. So start this practice just like we started the tree exercise. Start by dropping into your heart. Your heart is the center of the chakra system, the center of your energy body, and also the mind is split. The mind is the part of the human physiology that is contributing to our experience of duality, right? We have two sides of the mind all the time, but the heart isn't like that. The heart is unified. It emits a unified field. Some of that is actually measurable. The electromagnetic field of the heart can be measured, and there are other fields that scientists cannot measure them, but humans somewhere in their consciousness do have the ability to sense those things. But if you look at Heart Math Institute, that's an interesting website. They are actually able to measure the toroidal field, the electromagnetic field that emanates from the heart. I think they're talking about the physical heart at this point. and they can measure the changes in that electromagnetic field depending on the heartbeats. And that field projects quite far, about 6 feet from your body. And what they've noticed is that, or they've measured with their instruments, they're very scientific, that if there is someone else in the room within 6 feet of you, their brain is picking up on the electromagnetic broadcasts from your heart. And those broadcasts have information. There's a subtle difference or a subtle change in spacing between the various heartbeats. Very subtle, very slight, but it's quite noticeable when you get anxious or fearful. It changes quite a bit, and people around you, this is even demonstrated through the instruments that are currently available through science, can detect that. They can detect that. So that's just something that science can measure, but I think it goes far, far beyond that. There is no way to measure really what is the limit of consciousness. And it seems virtually limitless to me. I can tell you when I started this work, I was just working with people in person. I was working with their energy field, so I wasn't touching them. I didn't have to touch them to create changes in their energy field, but I thought I had to be near them. And then at one point I realized, wow, I can do this with someone, who's hundreds of miles away from me. I even work with people in India on the other side of the planet. And it's just like they're right in front of me. It seems like there's no time and space for consciousness. I don't have to see them. I don't have to see them on Zoom. I just have to be, feeling them, connected to them, and we can do all the work just exactly the same as it happens in person. So that is saying that consciousness is not nearly as limited as we think. It can stretch far and wide. In my daily meditations, not only do I reach down with my consciousness to the center of the earth and also up to the center of the sun. So I'm connecting with those two beings as living beings. These are two beings that are very local here in our reality. And they're two beings I know I can trust. And they're two beings who are directly connected to the divine source. So they give me that feeling of connection. They'll let you know that we're all one, very much so. And so, but not only, so reaching up to the sun, that's, I don't know how far away, someone knows the exact number, but it's far away. And not only that, I'll reach through the sun all the way to the center of the galaxy. I could do that in an instant. And that's, millions of light years away, maybe billions. I don't even know how far. So there's really no time and space, as far as I can tell, for consciousness, because I will feel the connection and the response almost instantaneously. That's my personal experience. And, other people, I was just reading a book on out-of-body experiences, and this person says the same thing. It seems like no one knows what the limit to consciousness is. And, it can travel outside of your body. It can do all kinds of things. So, all right, again, that's kind of going back to the first class and just expanding the realm of possibilities here before we begin the work. So starting in the heart-centered awareness, that is, in my experience, really connecting you to the unified field that we're all in. We all have an individual energy field that surrounds us, along with our, the fields that are closer to our body. I often talk about this outer toroidal field that's a few feet from your body. I talk about that as your sovereign space. And so these are aspects of the field that I'll often reference. I don't normally reference all the intermediary bodies, the emotional body, the mental body. Those are all affected by the things that you do, and especially by this energy work. But I don't feel like I need to specifically reference them to do effective work. But this outer body is important because that's kind of creating your sense of your energy field, your sovereign space that is separate from other people's energy field. It extends outside of your body. So obviously, you're going to intersect with other people whose fields are also extending out of their body. That's to a certain extent unavoidable. But it still feels like your domain. You can claim it. You have permission to clear anything out of it. I'll often talk about that. Your outer toroidal field, your sovereign space. And so these are some of the basic structural elements that I work with. And I'll entertain some questions about the other aspects at the end of this talk and how they're affected. But so beginning this practice, starting in the heart chakra, I just wanted to go a little deeper into the heart chakra and how profound it is, because it really is connecting you with that unified field, which extends throughout the whole universe. It is the field that we all exist in. The heart chakra has an intuitive awareness of that. It's a feeling. In fact, when you're just doing this basic part of the practice, I guess I'm going to do this slowly because that makes sense to me. So when you're doing this basic part of the practice, the very beginning, dropping into your heart chakra, you can do some other things there even before you start clearing your field. Because the heart chakra has a unified field, it's not divided like the brain. It's a unified field of consciousness. It's connected to the unified field of consciousness. In my perception, it also transcends our human perceptions of time and space, because from my perception, those are local to our experience. They don't exist throughout the universe. That's part of what we're experiencing in this current reality. The heart can really transcend that. And so I find that not only is the heart chakra a place to get centered, a place to calm yourself down. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling upset, they have a technique on that Heart Math Institute to regain coherence. And that's exactly what they talk about. They talk about dropping into your heart chakra, feeling your heart, putting your center of awareness in your heart, and then feeling something that gives you a sense of love. It could be your child, it could be your pet, it could be someone you love, it could be a place on the earth that makes you feel really good, could be gratitude also, but I usually focus on love because that's more immediate for most people. Love is at a higher frequency. So these are the basic techniques: to drop into the heart, Take some deep breaths, relaxing into the heart-centered awareness, and then think about someone or some place that gives you this feeling of love in the center of your heart. You can almost feel the heart expand when you do that. This feeling of love. If you're visual, you'll often see it as kind of a golden light. I often do a kind of a golden light in the heart. It's this feeling of expansive love. This love is really your innate connection with the divine source that you don't have to reach for. You don't have to get it anywhere. It just exists within you because the heart is that profound. It has, you might say, a quantum connection with that omnipresent divine love. It's right, it's deep in the center. If you've got issues outside, if you're having problems in your relationships, that's going to be pressing here on the outside of your heart. But deep inside, you can still find this love that just exists no matter what is going on the outside. It really transcends human love. So that's, like I said, just this part of the technique is very helpful if you're feeling anxious or if something startles you or if you feel afraid, because all of those things cause your heart to start beating in a more erratic way. Your mind starts racing. These are the typical, biological fear reactions because, you're looking for a way out of the fear. How can I make myself safe? That's, in some ways that's required in nature. But in our human world, it comes up all the time when there's no real existential threat. There's other things, something's gone wrong at work, it can bring up that feeling, right? So this is a way you can calm yourself down, center into that heart-centered awareness. They describe a lot of this technique at Heart Math Institute, but I'm going to go a little deeper into it. So here you are centering in the heart. You're feeling that love in your heart. Just doing that much, just taking deep breaths, relaxing, slowing down the heartbeat, and feeling love or gratitude in your heart starts creating what they call coherence at the Heart Math Institute. Again, it's like nature. Your body has to slow down. Your body has to feel relaxed for those intuitive parts of you, which the heart is part of, to clearly communicate with your brain. That it gets all cut off and muddled when there's fear, when there's stress, when there's anxiety. So this is a technique to regain that coherence. And they've measured that. They can measure that too. The heart and the mind start communicating. Just to give you an idea of how slow that pace is, the heart communicates with the brain at a frequency of 0.1 hertz. That means one cycle every 10 seconds. That's a very slow cycle, okay? That's a very relaxed way to communicate. So the more relaxed you get, the more you get in tune with that very, very deep, slow frequency. That's also the frequency that is connecting you to the unified field. It gives you a sense of security, I would say. That's where I get my sense of security. It's not from the money I have in the bank, that's for sure. It's from this. It's from this connection with the unified field. There's a feeling of just being held there, being held in a loving presence. And that's how profound it can be, just doing this beginning part of the practice, tuning into your heart. The other thing about the heart-centered awareness, and this has been very helpful in my life, is it's much better at making decisions than the mind. We're all trained to make decisions with our mind, with our rational mind. In fact, in childhood, we're trained to rely on the rational mind so much that it becomes the ruler, dominating every other part of us. Emotions are deprecated. They're repressed by the intellect. Everything, bodily functions are even, controlled by the intellect when it's the right time, when the teacher allows you to. That's what it starts off. But then, so there's so much training in our society to use the intellect to rule all the other parts of your body. But that's doing yourself a great disservice. And of course, it creates a lot of stress because now you're asking the intellect to do things that it really isn't well designed to do. And that's especially true when you're asking it to make decisions about the future. because all the intellect can do, it's rational, it's logical. It can look at the past, it remembers the past, and it can take your experiences from the past and project them into the future. That's about the best that it can do. Maybe with a few modifications, it can imagine. But the problem is, the intellect is smart enough to know that it's going to be wrong about that. It knows that the future is changing because it's seen that it's changed through your past. And so it knows any projection it makes like that is going to be wrong. And so that just creates tremendous anxiety, right? Here it's trying its best to take care of you. This is, some people refer to this as the ego. The ego really is trying to take care of you, but because it's trained to do it in this certain way, produces a lot of anxiety. The heart isn't like that at all. Okay, not at all. The heart is completely feeling. There's no thinking going on here. There's no logical decisions. There's no projection. It's not a spreadsheet type arrangement. The heart is tuning in to this expansive, unified field, which really past, present, and future are all part of, all coexisting in this moment. That's how the heart perceives it, is as a unified field of potential and how could you say that? Expression. So when you're, let's say you have two decisions in front of you, okay, two big decisions. You can do this practice, you can drop into your heart, feel into that heart-centered awareness, and then in a feeling way, just sort of put one decision in this hand and the other decision in this hand. So you're just feeling them, almost you might say weighing them in your hands, and you're holding them right here at heart level. So you're just feeling not thinking about the possibilities, just feeling, what does the heart feel about this? Which one of these feels better to the heart? And almost every time, one way is going to feel a lot better. You don't know why. You can't, because you can't, the mind cannot possibly imagine all the things, all the intuitive awareness that the heart is connected to. It's not just taking the past and projecting it, it's actually feeling into the unified field, which is also containing the future possibilities, and feeling this is better. So then, if you learn to trust that, and this goes along with this practice of coherence, allowing, retraining yourself so that your mind is now starting to trust your heart rather than trying to dominate your heart and your emotions, starting to trust the information that's coming up from these two other brains. These are literally other ways of perceiving the world in the heart and in the gut brain. And so then actually the intellect is so relieved, because now once you trust it, once you learn to trust it, and you have to try it a few times and see that it works out, then you learn to trust it. Once you learn to trust it, then the intellect is so relieved because the intellect is great at filling in details. It's great at figuring out how to do things once someone gives it a direction. So, but finding the direction, that's what gives it anxiety. So if the heart says, here's the direction, I'll be the rudder, then the intellect can do everything it needs to do to make that happen, to fill in all the details. And it does that very happily because it's so good at that, just this much, this simple practice has reduced the stress in my life to very, very little. I can't, not to say that, like the other day when my website crashed, I'm like, okay, I did get a little jolt of fear in the first moment. I'm like, oh no, but I've learned that, if I trust this heart-centered awareness, that I'm going to find a way through that, right? Because it was that heart guidance and my connection with the earth that is part of that guided me to do this class in the first place. And so even though you get this moment, things come up that go wrong, you're going to get a little instinctive fear reaction. You can quite easily overcome that and not like start spinning out and, melting down, right? In a big, that's what happens when you get in fear. Your mind starts spinning. How can I get out of it? What can I do, right? And you're not thinking very clearly then too, because the heart is beating erratically. And so So here's a technique you can use anytime that happens. Sometimes the fears come up because something in your current life has just triggered or activated some trauma from your past. It doesn't really, there's no real danger in front of you at all, but there was real danger in the past. That's, again, another good reason, a good time to drop into that heart-centered awareness. And it can actually, doing that can actually help you to start healing that trauma. Even just right here, this is the core of my practice, is the heart. Just doing that, because whenever those traumas come up, whenever your mind is activated in the same kind of way that it was when the trauma originally happened, you have pretty much, any psychologist will tell you, they have pretty much all the same kind of emotional reactions. Or anybody who's experienced that can tell you that's true. So, and you reacted however you did in that moment with the circumstances that were available to you. So when it comes up again, this gives you an opportunity to deal with that trauma, deal with those trauma reactions in a new way. And that's like finding a new solution that's both somatic and includes your mind. No part is left out. Every part is included. And you can find a way to calm yourself down in that time. It's very, very effective. So, okay, so I'm spending a lot of time on the core of the practice, getting in touch with feeling, getting in touch with the heart, which is also about getting in touch with feeling. The reason why, most of my clients who see me, they have enough feeling sense to know that something is wrong, and that's why they're reaching out to me. But some of them, they don't have it. They can't feel the energy moving through when I initially do the work with them. And so I say, okay, just do this basic practice for a few days, and then we'll reconvene. Usually 3 days is enough, and then they can feel it. So I know from my experience that anybody can do this. It is an innate human ability. But yeah, for various reasons, and trauma can certainly intensify that. If it didn't feel safe to feel things as a child, then of course that intensifies the issue about opening up to those and trusting that feeling awareness. But this is the beginning. Okay, so I spent a long time on the heart, but I think that was worthwhile. I hope you do too. So that's the beginning of the practice. That's just dropping in. So then when you're feeling that now after all of that, I hope you have all dropped in very well into your heart. You can feel some sense of love in your heart. People who are having difficulty following me in this class, you can always reach out to me for individual instruction, or even just even a mini session just to get you going, okay? And I will charge you much less for, because I want you to be able to do it. Just hearing about it doesn't really change much. You have to be able to feel it. You have to be able to do it. Okay, so that's why I spend so much time here, because this is really a big feeling center to activate the heart, the center of the chakra system, which is really the center of your being, of your body. Most people think it's here up in the mind, which is because that's where we spend a lot of time. But I would say it's really here. It's in the heart. This is the center. Okay.